Good afternoon. It's Jeneen from Jeneen Cares, preparing to share with you an in-depth interview with a member of our Frederick community. I am so excited to be joined by the person who is responsible for the amazing photography of our march that we had that was organized in Frederick County by youth. We had a rally, a non-violent protest scheduled and coordinated and skillfully executed by several youth, some from TJ, I believe Frederick High School. I was so impressed as a school administrator. I appreciated leadership. I had BCMS leaders when I was there. And so to see these high school and beyond students come up with a plan that I don't think I could have creatively engaged in such myself. These students were organized. They were doing poetry. They were doing kneeling of one knee along with adults from all races. It was absolutely amazing. And a guest today on Jeneen Cares, Adrian, has captured and will be, and you can tell us about that in a moment, doing great things with what he captured. There's nothing like a memory of a picture. A picture is worth 1,000 words. I know that probably some of my staff at Ballinger Creek Middle School, when I was principal, they were thinking, can this woman stop taking pictures? But for me, it's about the memories. I just love to capture great things, great energy, and to be able to share it with the world. And so that's what I did on Twitter. Right now, I am the Achievement Specialist for School Culture, who's on a lunch break right now, and I am in the Department of Student Services. So Adrian, without further ado, Mr. Hawkins, please share with us some of your background and experiences as it relates to caring, achieving, restoring, empowering, and supporting our youth for the future, making legacy leaders here in Frederick County, Maryland, and beyond. Global-minded citizens ready to take on the world, as they showed you with their marks that had almost 5,000 people of all races. Adrian, take it away. Tell me about yourself.
All right. So first and foremost, I'm a family man, married of 6 years, going on 7, beautiful, beautiful family, have 2 kids. First, how I even got up here in Frederick was I was in the Army. I got stationed on Fort Detrick. Fort Detrick was my first and last duty station. It ended well. It's just that the military became it became something that I did not envision, and I just didn't feel like it was part of the plan anymore. Like I really did want to do my 20 years, but after 4 years and with really crappy leadership, it was a big turnoff for me. At least I was able to come out with an honorable discharge. But how I even got into photography, I woke up one morning and was like, okay, what is something that that I've never done before that I can try my hand at? And I was like, okay, how do I even begin to start photography? So I bought a little entry-level camera. It was probably $400, $500. It came with 2 lenses, and I just took all the pictures that I could until the camera said, okay, you're doing a lot. It was, like I said, it was an entry-level camera, so it didn't last too long, or at least I feel like it didn't last long enough, because I had it for about 2 years and it just completely died on me. That prompted me to buy a more robust camera and take my passion, turn my hobby into a passion that later became what I do today. So as Jeneen had mentioned, about 2 weeks ago, we had our protest here in Frederick, Maryland. And at first I was hesitant of bringing my camera, not because it was raining outside. It was just because I wasn't sure what the climate was going to be, as far as like, is it really going to be a peaceful protest, or is it going to turn out to what we see on the news and things of that sort?
Absolutely.
But I'm glad that I made the decision to bring my camera anyway, because at least it just being there and telling someone else what it was like is one thing. Being able to capture the moment, and capitalize the emotions within the pictures, that meant a lot more to me, than to be able to just tell my son when he grows up, or even my daughter when they grow up, what monumental march that we had here in Frederick County, this year. And I've been contacted by one of the representatives from the state archives, and we are going to have a conversation about those same pictures that you had mentioned. We're going to have a conversation about getting those into the Maryland State Archives, whether it's me donating or even coming up with an agreement to where um, certain people are allowed to repurpose the pictures without my permission. And my goal as far as photography has always been, how do I create a legacy for myself? And I think that having images digitally stored in an archive, um, that that just checks that off. Um, let's see. What else would you like to know? Your audio.
Just growing up, I'm sorry, you as a student and whatever else you experience in terms of perseverance to succeed in life. Just give me a few more kind of perseverance moments for your background in terms of the places you lived growing up and how that was for you experiencing education, experiencing expectations of adults and things like that.
Okay, so I grew up in Augusta, Georgia, home of the Masters, or at least that's where I spent most of my life. We moved back to the States. Also grew up in a military family, woo woo. So we moved back to the States in 1999. And when it comes to the area that we lived in, it was it's predominantly Black. And when it comes to education, I didn't know that I was going to Title I schools until until I got a lot older. And I was like, as my wife being an educator, she had to explain what Title I meant, and I was just like, oh, okay, now I understand. So
It means
I
a lot
was
of extra services, which could be very beneficial to a school leader, I'll tell you that. But on the other side of it, yeah, it's more of a socioeconomic status and needing additional services. So yes.
right, and I never would have known that as a young child, because the access to all of the books and things of that sort, I thought it was pretty standard, because from going to a school in South Carolina compared to the schools that I went to in Georgia, it was almost the same, except for when we moved to Atlanta when I was in the 6th grade. So to see it was a striking difference, because the school that I went to in Atlanta, the middle school that I went in Atlanta, there was a lot more resources. We even had foreign languages. You had the choice between Spanish, French, or German. So, and it's because that part of Atlanta that we were living in, it was a melting pot. It was more than just Black people compared to Augusta.
It's
So,
a great environment. I feel like I was in Roxborough for my Shawmont Elementary education, and just, that's an experience in and of itself to have a melting pot. I worked at Westland Middle School as an administrator, very much an internationally diverse population. And so, I'm always in awe of what we can do when we celebrate the diversity of all, right?
right. Um, and the older that I got, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I was the most model citizen ever. It's more so those experiences mold help mold who I am today. Because when I was in middle school, especially when I was in middle school was a rough adjustment period for me. Period. I got kept back in the 6th grade because I refused to do. This was back when homework was more than 30% of your total grade. And I just refused to do my homework, but just passing the tests, the quizzes, and doing some of the schoolwork, classwork, wasn't enough. And I was trying too much to just do my own thing. And as much as it wasn't working out, I still tried to make it my own thing. So when reality set at the end of the year, I was like, okay, maybe I can go to summer school. My mom hit me with yeah, no, you're not going to summer school. I'm not paying for that. You had your chance. You had a total of 36 weeks to get it together.
Mama was on it. She said,
you had 36 weeks to get it together, and you still didn't do it. So it was a humbling experience to, embarrassing at the same time, because all my friends, they're going to 7th grade. Here I am repeating the same grade. So and like, it's besides the school thing, I just kept finding myself running with the wrong crowd. So my mom, through our church, she had put me through a mentorship program. So I had a mentor, a male role model, because I lost my dad when I was 5. So, not having that positive male role model, it does have an effect, whether people want to believe it or not. And
for males and females, not having a father figure, I'm telling you,
it does something to you. So
I said it for years, and I didn't believe her.
See, and when I had that mentor in my life, that's when things started changing dramatically for me. So I didn't feel like the world was out to get me. I didn't feel the need to, do the stupid things that I was doing just to get attention. All I had to do was just talk to someone. And growing up in that environment where, we're as males, we're told to just suck it up, don't put your emotion, you're too emotional and things of that sort. We also, as the Black community, have to break that stigma too, because having that male role model, he taught me that it's okay. It's okay to have feelings. It's okay to cry at times. It's okay to express how you feel, because nobody is a mind reader. And the most machoist man, still, he will tell you in the darkest nights, he will cry.
Absolutely.
So,
and I appreciate a vulnerable man.
yeah, and still today, I try to remember that, that relationship and that mentor had. I'm actually still in contact with them, because there's some things that, as a parent, that, my son, he's 2 years old. There's there's old school discipline, then there's the new, hey, let's talk to you. And
we call that restorative. Yes, high control and high support. You can still be very much in control, but support them as you were needing as an adolescent learner in middle school. That same thing that you needed is what you need to give to that 2-year-old right now.
Yes, and I wouldn't change anything for the relationship that I have with my son, because when growing up, none of my siblings have children. I'm the first to have children. So where to even begin? I didn't really have anybody to tell me how to be a father. So I had to learn these things. I'm still learning too, because when my son first came, it was a rough adjustment period, because I didn't know where to start. So I've always had people telling me, yo, you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that. And I've had people talk to me as if I'm supposed to know this. And I'm just like, y'all do realize that this is my first time being around children, let alone my own children, but children, period. I've never had that, experience. Whereas, my wife and her side of the family, they've had kids around, pretty much their whole lives. So for me, it's just, where do I start?
I totally understand. Thank you for sharing so much insight. Once again, this is Jeneen from Jeneen Cares, where we're caring, achieving, restoring, empowering, and supporting our youth of the future. We are here today with Mr. Adrian Hawkins, who is a legacy leader in Frederick. He was responsible most often and most notable recently with capturing the beautiful black and white photos, and even were there color photos as well?
I so I get asked that a lot. So there, all of them were in color, and it's just the reason why I came down to even choosing black and white, because it's just something about the color scheme of black and white that's powerful. It's bold. It's
And that it
impactful.
was, yes.
And it just captivates the moment, in my opinion, a lot better than the color pictures would have. And it was just
Absolutely.
like how to invoke emotions through these pictures, because like if they were in color, somebody be like, oh, those are great pictures, but when you see the emotion behind it, or the message a lot clearer, then you understand why. Because color, when it comes to choosing colors, um, they have a lot of meaning behind them.
Absolutely. I think that the black and white was awesome. I think when I'm on Instagram trying to fix my filter and I want to make a powerful statement, I also use black and white. So yes, kudos to you on your talent, your gifts, and sharing them with the community. Tell us a little bit about Imperial Media.
So Imperial Media, I've been in photography for since 2015, and when I started, it actually was Imperial Cinematic, because I was more focused on um, video, or at least that's what the inception was, to start a video production company. But the more and more that I started taking pictures, the more and more that actually got away from videos at first. So I started as it started out as a hobby, like I said earlier, turned into a passion, and it became something that I'm driven on a daily basis to send out different messages and things of that sort, whether it's business clients or consumer clients. So Imperial Media, I registered for my business, or excuse me, my articles of organization back in 2017. And that's when I made the change from Imperial Cinematic Company to just Imperial Media, because when you say media, you want to give people the general idea that you're not just doing pictures, you're not doing just videos. So late last year, I also established or more so refined what I define as my consumer base. So Imperial Media is the umbrella. So I also have real life memories captured, and everything I do portrait wise, weddings, newborn photo shoots, maternity photo shoots. Those all fall under real life memories captured, because what are memories? You capture them, and it's real life. Um, and Imperial Media is just geared, just the name is just geared towards business clients. And what I do as an individual that doesn't necessarily fall under the doing things on the consumer side.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. I'm very proud of you. We have a Black owned business here in Frederick. And so thank you for what you're doing for our community. I know you have clients lined up, and I know that you and I and Kiki Wilson are looking at doing some collaboration on some things. And so I'm excited about that as well.
Oh yeah.
And so let's talk now about the restorative part. You mentioned earlier the mentors in your life and how that made a difference, because those people were probably people that you really cared about and respected. And restorative leaders like yourself as a parent, or whatever role you hold, you can be restorative by being high in control and high on support, which means basically people will feel that you're very much in charge, but they're also going to understand that they're going to be services like mentoring, listening, affirmation that are going to allow them to communicate to you that even when you mess up, we are going to separate the deed from the doer. So yes, you did not meet our expectation on this day, And as a result, you might earn a consequence, right? However, we still care about you and we know that you're capable of turning it around. And so, yes, I believe in you still. And so that's the whole restorative mindset. And so all of these interviews that I'm doing as Jeneen, and Jeneen Cares, right now I'm on my lunch break, I got a little bit longer to go ahead and finish this interview. We're looking at the restorative process. And with the restorative process, you want to focus on past, present, and future. And so let's go to the past for a moment. March 13th specifically. Since March 13th, what has been present on your mind the most?
The most, it's kind of hard to choose because when I also I've been diagnosed with ADHD, so it's like I have a million thoughts in a second. So
I'm not
trying
diagnosed,
to
but I can tell you, I can relate. Keep going.
so trying to
This morning.
yeah, so trying to focus on one thing as far as like what's the most what's been on my mind the most, it's I'm going to have to say is how can I make sure that my business is still up and running, because um that making the choice between keeping one name to service all, or split it off so that people can see the different talents, the different um, services that are offered to both consumers and businesses. Because when people used to ask or look at the business name, they're like Imperial Media. Well, what do you do? They always had the question: do you do weddings? Do you do birthday parties? Do you do corporate events? Or whatever it may be. So I'm always thinking of how can I better service both my business clients, and how can I better serve my consumer clients without without causing any confusion. Because when you go to my Facebook page, both you're going to see both videos and pictures, even website builds that I have done, all under the Imperial Media name. So
And by the way, I just shared your Imperial Media page on our Facebook page. So hopefully, if you're watching and you're wondering who I'm interviewing, again, this is Jeneen from Jeneen Cares, where we're caring, achieving, restoring, and empowering and supporting our youth for the future, interviewing Mr. Adrian Hawkins, owner of Imperial Media. And he's sharing with us a little bit of insight of why it was started, his background and history. So thank you for tuning in. Continue, Adrian.
Okay, so like I said, the thought that always crossed my mind is how can I better serve? Because if the community that I live in, if they don't even, first of all, if they don't know about me, how can I even begin to even start a conversation with them? If nobody knows that there is, especially like if you're in that mindset of I want to keep Black money in Black businesses, you know, how can I how can I reach out to those type of people? Because again, like marketing is part of it, but a lot of a lot of the service that I give is more so because of word of mouth. Because I've done things for or United Way. Just recently, I gave back to the high school seniors for the Berman Academy, and I believe it's in Silver Spring. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I donated a day of my time to the seniors to capture their moment while getting their diplomas, and because they didn't have the most traditional graduation ceremony. So their ceremony was done virtually before the governor made his announcement, and have all the remaining schools that haven't done a graduation ceremony scrambling. So it was awesome that I was able to capture the moments for those high school seniors, because me, like I wasn't too big on having my picture taken in the first place, let alone being in front of the camera. Um, it's just a great feeling that, you know, when I got the email back from the lady that I was in contact with, who all put it all together to say that the pictures came out amazing. That's always something that I like to hear.
Absolutely. Positive affirmation, a recognition of all of your hard work, your community service. I really appreciated seeing those pictures. I was wondering if somebody was going to capture the march, and I found myself, you know, in different places. I had a Snapchat video that was sent by my daughter to me,
Mhm.
of me out there. And so there were lots of photographers out there, but you were the best. And I think that I really appreciated seeing. There was another brother, Brandon Chapman, I believe, who also has some
Mhm.
remarkable pictures and videography from that event. And so kudos to all of us working together in the community. And so of all the things that you've been thinking about recently, what is the hardest thing for you right now as you're experiencing? We're going to the present. We did the past already since March
Right.
13th, and now we're in the present. What is the most difficult thing for you to manage right now in the present?
The most difficult thing to manage right now in the present, a lot of, and I know I'm not the only one. When it comes to social media, we have those friends or acquaintances that say that they're in our corner, but you know, silence is deafening. And there are some people who choose not to be on social media, but for those who are, it's just like, you know, are you really in my corner, or you know, am I going to have to see you on the other side? And it's just trying to figure out who's truly there for me and my community. And if you are there for our community, you know, just, you don't have to say much. You don't have to do grand gestures. You don't have to apologize for the things that you directly didn't contribute to, but just showing your undying understanding, um that that means a lot more than, you know, grand gestures. um that you're just like, do you, you know, what was the thought behind that? And the toughest thing was like somebody that I was really good friends with in the military. I just had to I had to separate myself from them because their ideologies and what's going on in today's society didn't align with what I believe in.
Yeah, that's a difficult one. And I actually, as I think about some of the people, honestly, with respect to social media as well, I do have that as well as something on my mind. And just, you know, and talking to one of our board members in the interview, there was the message about just, you know, understanding, you know, people on both sides. I mean, when you have friends and family who are, you know, in service for their country or in service for their, you know, department in the police department, and you have, you know, the other side of that with, you know, people that you serve in your daytime job and you love and you care about them equally as much. It does pull you, and it kind of, it hurts to see people that are hurting and that we really want to help heal, and it's difficult. And so thank you for that.
Yeah.
Positivity. Leadership is a journey, and any great leader, whatever your position is, a community member, a father, you have to remain positive. If not for your youth, you have to remain positive, and remaining positive is difficult at times. And so for me, I wake up 6 a.m. every morning, and I have a prayer call, and I listen to a prayer, I listen to a word, a scripture word, and then some gospel music. And for me, like photography, for you, music, I just love music. I couldn't survive if I couldn't hear some kind of music certain times to be able to lift me. So what are you doing with your family, with your friends to remain positive?
So to remain positive, there was a book that well, it was more like a workbook, but it was called Mind Over Matter, and it's just being how I remain positive even in the face of, you know, adversity and things of that sort. It's being able to decipher the things that I can change, and being able to do something about the things that I can't change. For the things that that are out of my control, it's best left alone. There's nothing that you can do about it. It's wasted energy. Just like when me making the choice to distance, completely distance myself from the really good friend that I thought I had. That was something within my control. But people are still going to have their views, whether it's positive or negative, about what's going on in the world today. And alone, you can't change everybody's opinion. Uh, Even though everybody's trying to group, or excuse me, I won't say everyone, but there's a lot of people trying to group the vast majority of us believers in one thing. When it comes to Black Lives Matter, they're trying to group us with the people that are being destructive, the rioters and things of that sort. So being able to come out of it and be like, okay, I know I'm not this. It's like when somebody calls you stupid or ugly, I know what you are, but what am I? You know,
Yeah,
that's all.
I remember
That's
getting I know you are, but what am I? I know you are, but what am I?
exactly. So that's how that's how I handle some situations. And then like for the more confrontational things, I'm never one to come up to you or approach you. Like I'm not a perfect person when it comes to you know if I'm going to tell you about yourself at a distance. Like if you cut me off on the highway, I'm in my mind. But I'm not going to approach you. So like when people do approach me, there was this show that I used to watch. It's called Chowder. And one of the characters' name is Schnitzel. And all he said was Rada. So anytime that anybody will yell at me, it's just, just picturing that character, Rada, 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 Rada. And, I'm able to still smile in their face.
Google that one. I don't know it.
Exactly. Yeah. Google it because that's all he ever said. So even when he showed anger, it was just rada 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 rada. So it's like anytime that anybody's yelling at me, that's exactly what I go to because I can still laugh, and so that that I'm not I'm unbothered, I'm unmoved by your negativity, and I'm still gonna have a great day regardless. So
on purpose. That's my tagline. Have a great day on purpose.
exactly.
When I get those contentious emails, I started off with, thank you for your email. I appreciate the feedback. But
Oh yeah, because you got people who their main mission is to deter your happiness.
distractions, yes, distractions. I agree. I will say that we call that in restorative practitioner land replacement statements. And so when I trained administrators and counselors and PPWs and all those people in student services or in school-based leadership, whether that be a classroom teacher, because they're leaders very much so, we need you teachers, we believe in you as superheroes to help us lead as administrators. One of the things that I used to hear admin versus teachers, I'm like, we're all family here. This is a team BCMS. If we can't work together and have collective leadership, then I'm going to fail because I need you as much as I need my admin team to work together to move forward, to make these gains. And so replacement statements, in one of the trainings, there was a paragraph, a scenario where the student is walking down the hallway and they, have a moment and they end up cursing the teacher out. And so the scenario states that you have to, in your mind, think of something totally different so that you do not take it personal. And so we asked the teachers or administrators to come up with replacement statements that they could be thinking about as they're engaging in that restorative dialogue when they're saying, what happened? What were you thinking? Holding the student accountable. What do you have to do to make things right? Meaning, I'm not going to tell you what to do. What do you think? And most of the time, because even my first grade student has been appropriately trained to be able, through his school, Yellow Springs Elementary, shout out to the teachers, Ms. Smuckers and his teacher and cohort of teachers that it takes a village at Yellow Springs Elementary, who have taught the restorative reflection prompts of what happened. What are you thinking when you did that? And how do you resolve that? Teaching coping skills. Shout out to Frederick County Public Schools, who has K through 12 social emotional learning curriculum in every elementary school, to be able to allow those conversations that you're having probably with your 2-year-old about reflection and coping skills and the management of what he's actually feeling when he is upset or disappointed. or told no, right? And how to manage that. And so I'm so excited to see how that plays out years later. But going back to the redirecting the energy or replacement statements, the idea is really just not taking it personal and replacing it with something positive as you recognize what your triggers are. Because honestly, my trigger with a child is disrespect. And unfortunately, that was like the number one infraction in my building, disrespect. And so how did I manage that? By acknowledging my triggers and understanding that I have to use a trauma-informed lens. And I got that from coaching of great principals that I have watched along the way, who were able to calmly manage the most explosive situations, like, okay, so we're going to deal with this effectively. And so that's something that it's a skill that's learned, but you have to, because otherwise, if you're just suspending students, you're pushing them into the juvenile justice system. If you're excluding them, you're ensuring that they will not want to engage with you ever. If you're not listening to them, they're thinking you're not caring about them. And so many things come as a result of non-restorative, or what we call punitive style leaders. And so last question, and I thank you again for your time. Once again, this is Jeneen from Jeneen Cares, where we're caring, achieving, restoring, empowering, and supporting our youth for the future. We're talking to legacy leaders like Mr. Hawkins, empowering legacy leaders of the future like the students in Frederick County who led that historic march with over 5,000 people of all races who came together to acknowledge the existence of Black Lives Matter and that movement and the need for more cultural events in our county, more policies to address the inequities in our country. And so last question for you, Mr. Hawkins, what messages of hope, of motivation, of inspiration can you leave for our youth or parents, as you are a parent? What can you say that's going to inspire or motivate, or what would have inspired or motivated you as a middle school learner? Or what have you learned that could help motivate our youth and our parents? Pretend you were speaking to maybe a victim of Black Lives Matter, their family members. Pretend you might be speaking to a person who is experiencing COVID right now and is stuck on quarantine, unsure of whether or not they will make it out of quarantine. And so I know it's a lot of pressure and we are live on Facebook, but I believe in you. I believe in you. Give me something good.
So when it comes to, words of encouragement, like trying not to sound cliche is the hard part. But, if you're hurting, there's find someone to talk to, because when going through those stages when I was younger, just bottling up those emotions because I was told, you're a man, or be a man about it. Don't be such a girl. Don't be this. Don't be that. Don't be so emotional. It was damaging to my self-esteem at one point in time. So talk to someone, whether it's a therapist, somebody that you trust, like, because the reason why I didn't really talk to my mom about those issues was because I was afraid of the backlash that I would get. The constant, you're too young to have feelings, or get your head back in the game, be a man, suck it up, truck on. Don't be afraid to don't be afraid to talk to anybody, because mental health stability is something that nowadays I'm big about, because it's a lot of the time we ignore those signs when it comes to mental disorders. We don't believe in it, or let me rephrase that. A lot of the Black community think it's just all in the head, and when you reinforce those stigmas, it's how do we break the cycle? So talk to someone.
That's a great answer. That's a great answer. And with that in mind, I am going through some things in my life, which I have shared and disclosed personally, publicly, because I believe in testimonies. I have a show called The Testimony, where we're 4 random individuals that have connections to each of us separately. And we're allowing opportunities for people to come on and share their stories, just like we're doing here with Jeneen Cares and celebrating legacy leaders and trying to empower other legacy leaders to learn all that they can learn, empower others, and be empowered by others to act with an action plan strategically with support if needed, and to dream big. And so that is the best advice that I've heard so far with these interviews. Just mental health, just get help, because we can't do this alone. And everyone right now in the world is unfortunately experiencing secondhand trauma. So I thank my ladies, one of my line sisters, and one of my new colleagues who's helping me with my nonprofit, who shared resources for me for mental health. And I have 2 therapists that I'm excited to reach out to and try to get some support, just managing and coping. And, I'm still holding down a full-time job. I'm still holding down community service, at all hours of the night. I'm still a parent. And so with all that I'm carrying, plus, the baggage from growing up without a father present in our household, and everything else that came along with, me raising 2 children independently, with different relationships and all that they brought to me. And so still hopeful for the future that it's going to be okay. I think mental health is the best answer that I could hear from a Black male who is clearly still persevering in spite of all that he's seeing and experiencing and raising and has already been through. So thank you, Mr. Adrian Hawkins. I look forward to celebrating your work with Imperial Media. I know that you're going to be busy in the coming days, because there's so much to capture. We in our community are collaborating about a lot of initiatives. I have a community chat that I'm scheduling for Sunday. Jeneen Cares is looking for leaders, political leaders especially, elected officials. I want you to join me on Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a conversation called Reimagining Leadership, Rebuilding Community, and Reconnecting Our Community. So I think that is something that we need to do. We need to rebuild, we need to reconnect, and we need to reimagine what leadership looks like, what the policies that might need to be changed a little bit, what the celebratory community activities need to occur so that we as African Americans or minorities are able to celebrate our diversity as we do in the school environment and our community. So we're looking for some action-oriented results here. We're going to press a little bit on our policy holders or policy officials, leaders, and we're going to ask for your collaboration as you listen to some of the things that we're planning to do, and hopefully get your support with those things. And then we will also hopefully have your support and the support of all, as we did for the Frederick rally, right? Where we can expose you then to our culture. And so things like, a DJ or celebrating Black businesses, when we do those types of things, the expectation is that we want everybody to support. I know you mentioned it earlier about people who might be interested in supporting Black businesses. I would think everybody should be, right? And so once again, thank you for your time. Jeneen from Jeneen Cares, where we're caring, achieving, restoring, and empowering and supporting our youth future, reminding them to be legacy leaders and to learn, empower, act, and dream big. Any final places that they can find you? Give your website really quickly.
So my website is rlmcaptured.com. That's where you can find everything that I do consumer-wise. I'm still working on my business website. It's imperialmediapro.com. But you also can find me on Facebook. So www.facebook.com/Imperial Media Pro. That's where you can see everything that I've done up until 2 weeks ago. I'm still working on other things behind the scenes, because it's all about keeping the creativity alive, because it's also one of my outlets, being able to freely and independently take pictures at will, make great videos, or at least what the clients believe what is great videos, and just achieving the status of being a go-to resource.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you for your time. I look forward to partner with you with some initiatives in our Frederick community, my place of employment and my home for the last 4 years. And I'm excited to be a resident and to be employed in the county and in the school district. And so thank you for listening today. You can find all of the videos of over 25 legacy leaders from Frederick and beyond on Jeneen Cares YouTube, Jeneen Cares on YouTube. Thank you. God bless and have a wonderful day.